Okay. Is Disloyal by Michael Cohen, Chapter 9, The End of the World. Explaining exactly how Trump came to dominate my thoughts night and day for years on end isn't a simple one dimensional undertaking. The first vital ingredient was my desire to please him, which was matched by my fear of displeasing the boss. Over and over again, these two co-equal motivations urged me further and further into the embrace of his way of seeing the world and life. But another element of Trump's gaslighting genius involved his ability to attract a certain type of person into his inner world. It's something you can recognize in the news today, with the likes of people surrounding Trump. The boss had an unerring eye for sycophants. Yes, men, loyal soldiers, call them what you will. During my years at the Trump Organization, there was a small, hardcore group of executives who formed a cadre around Trump. There was Alan Garton, co-general counsel and litigation director, a full-time job in a company with a Sue First Impulse. Sue First Impulse. Executive President Counsel George Sorial and Larry Glick, who ran the entire golf operation for Trump, plus me as Executive Vice President and Special Counsel to the boss. We saw each other through the good times and the bad times, becoming friends and partners in the craziness that constituted life on the 25th and 26th floors of Trump Tower. The four of us were all different, with different skill sets and points of view, but we shared the same ultimate task: protecting and fighting for Donald Trump. In the same way Republican Party has been taken over by the president, each of us in this group of loyal soldiers had dedicated our consciousness and consciences to him. In 2013, that meant trying to find solution to the rolling disaster that was Trump University. Originally conceived, huh?
He had a college.
I didn't know that he had a college. Originally conceived of as a strict licensing deal, Trump had insisted on owning the vast majority of the equity in the New York company, posing as an institution of the higher learning by offering get-rich-quick schemes in the real estate business.
It's a real estate college.
Trading on his reputation as a billionaire deal marker, Trump convinced folks to pay from $1,500 for a 3-day course to as much as $35,000 for the gold-plated degree. The fact that the university was little more than a mail-order diploma, with the courses consisting of receiving photocopies of boilerplate real estate basics, was part of the problem. But so was setting up an educational institution without any of the necessary legal or regulatory approvals.
Went over all the legal.
Yeah, you can be totally uneducated. The consequences of this fly-by-night approach were closing in by 2013, with the New York State Attorney General
Unregulated.
investigating Trump University and the Texas AG also making noises that he was going to look into the shadier business practices of the school's hardcore sales taxes, tactics, and shoddy organization. Student complaints were proliferating, and it was only a matter of time before the terrible quality of the education offered by Trump University caught up with the boss. Using coercive tactics, officials running the school urged students to give the university
Who was a professor this happened?
and the teachers great reviews, but that was solely so they could receive their diploma. Hardly a fair way to conduct market research or get feedback. To the contrary, the 98% approval rating best resembled Vladimir Putin's election results or Kim Jong-un's approval rating in North Korea. it's long. It's like, I love the president, or you'll be shot. The four of us in the Trump organization were running interference in the unfolding lawsuits and government investigations. George Soriel was in charge of dealing with many formal complaints from students and regulators, including negotiations with Texas that promised to be resolved with a mutually agreed settlement to cover the most egregious legal violations of Trump University. We should be able to close out the entire matter with a settlement of 500,000, George told Trump during a conference in the boss office. What? Trump said, I don't settle. We did nothing wrong. We have a 90% approval rating from our students. I bet we have a better approval rating than Harvard. No settling. Get them to drop the matter. Trump turned to me. Michael, because Michael Cohen is the lawyer. Michael, what are you doing to close this fucking mess down? Boss, I created a spreadsheet of all the vendors and tabulated the debt at around 5 million, I said. I spoke to Weisselberg, who told me there is around 1 million in cash in the bank for the company, so it looks like the vendors are going to have to take an 80% discount. Don't worry, boss. George and I are on it, and we know what you want. Keep me posted, Trump said. As we walked to my office, George was despondent. The boss is insane, he said. I know these people in Texas. They will never drop the equity. Do what you can, I said. Try to get the number down. If we stick together, maybe he'll agree to settle and move on. Screwing small businesses again? The script was the same for more than 100 vendors for Trump University. I told them that the school only had 1 million in cash to meet all its liabilities, which came to 5 million. So they had to take 20 cents on the dollar or sue the company in bankruptcy. You know that he went into bankruptcy several times.
2 or 3, right?
Yeah. Which would only drag out the inevitable and waste even more money and time. I explained that I understood that they deserved to be paid, but I had been directed by Mr. Trump to close the licensing deal down. It wasn't really a licensing deal, but calling it that was designed to give them pause about suing. Would they be able to go after Trump's deep pockets or only the remaining legal identity? This doubt was my leverage. I then told them I was working on the final tax return to permanently shutter the business, so this was their last opportunity to get paid. Do you understand that I'm telling you? I had said. Yes, they had replied. A billionaire, Donald Trump, isn't going to pay me, a poor person trying to earn a living. So what are you offering? 20% of the invoice, I would reply. Silence ensued as doom and the walls closed in, one after another, faced with the prospect of pouring more good money after a bad debt that capitulated. As I accumulated the releases, I reported to Trump's office to receive his gleeful approval. To Trump, this represented winning, and I never once witnessed a glimmer of sympathy or humanity or regret or shame in this demeanor. Michael, my man, you're the greatest, he would say. I basked in the praise. Like the jerk I had become, like my testimony before Congress, the time I lied, that is not the time I told the truth. And yes, I know how bad that sounds. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I couldn't stop it. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to stop it. So at least Michael Cohen knows like he did a lot of wrongdoings with him and for him.
Misdeeds.
I took a weird kind of pleasure in harming others in the service of Donald Trump, to my eternal shame. I kept this inner reality hidden from my wife and kids. I knew perfectly well that they wouldn't approve of what I was doing. To the contrary, it would disgust and dismay them, so I never discussed this kind of dirty business with them. Until one night when Laura and I were out to dinner with acquaintances at Elio's, our favorite uptown Italian restaurant, I heard you spoke with my comptroller yesterday, my acquaintance said. What are you talking about? I replied. You spoke to my comptroller to settle an outstanding invoice for Trump University, he said. Seriously, Michael? 20%? Take it or leave it? My cost of goods is 80%, so I'm losing money. This is just wrong. My heart rate spiked and I grew lightheaded as Laura looked at me dead in the eye, a look of cold exasperation on her face. What did you do now, Michael? She asked. My acquaintance explained to my wife how I had ripped off his business on behalf of Donald Trump and how despicable it was to treat small business that way. I had no defense. I recognized the name of his business when he told me I hadn't put one and one together, and it was undeniably true what he was telling Laura. I didn't know that was your company, I said. I'm sorry, my hands are tied. We sat awkwardly, Laura crestfallen at her husband's behavior and not for the last time, until the businessman's wife sighed and said, what they knew it wasn't and said that they knew it wasn't my fault, as if that was some form of excuse, and we shouldn't ruin our dinner. Conversation turned to the veal parmigiana, and I inspected my menu, feeling 2 inches tall. This was the price paid for working for a supposedly great businessman, the genius behind the art of the deal, the fraud. He was good at like fraud, and the other people worked good at it. And so many people are making money right now. Quick deals. Half of them are fraud. I'm
Not
go.
legal business.
Uh-uh. I'm going to enjoy this meal, the husband said. You know why, Michael? Because dinner is on you. Absolutely, I replied. In Trump world, there are two kinds of invitations that were the most coveted to his circle of friends, admirers, celebrity hangers-on, and wannabes. The first was a chance to play golf with Trump at one of his clubs. In theory, that meant the person invited had to have at least a 5 handicap, which severely limited the number of people eligible for this great honor, as he imagined it to be. But as with everything, Trump, the rule has more honored in the breach than in the observance. Handicaps, as anyone who has golfed with Trump knows, were as incredibly flexible concept for the boss. Serious golfers consider themselves honor bound to record every round they play in order to fairly and accurately track their handicap. Golf is ultimately a self-regulated sport, so lot can be known about a man's ethics by examining how he manages his handicap. To say that Trump was economical with the truth about his golf game would be a polite way to put it. I wasn't much of a golfer, much preferring tennis, but I witnessed Trump on the links from time to time. Despite all the cheating and his truly god-awful swing, god-awful, god-awful swing, Trump was actually a pretty good golfer. His drives were long and straight and seemingly blessed by good bounces or breaks. When he shanked or sliced the drive, it seemed like it would always, well, okay, not always, but often bounce off a tree and end up on the fairway. He was like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack.
Yeah.
But around the greens,
I
he
mean, most of the time he's a fluke. Like he can't do fucking shit. Yeah, other times he like luckily gets it on the fairway somehow.
it bounced the tree and it came back. But around the greens, he routinely did things like call a chip shot a gimme, a truly ridiculous liberty, or give his ball a nudge or kick to get a more favorable lie. I figured that was how Trump had always encountered the world, as a boy born with a silver spoon or shovel in his mouth. This is hilarious. He writes in a funny manner. He got special treatment, had liberties, denied others, and that applied to his beloved golf game as well. The second variety of coveted invitation was far more exclusive and exclusive The offer to accompany Trump to the Miss Universe or Miss USA pageants. That's what he started. These invitations were rare and highly
Did you
prized.
find Melania there?
And in this regard, I was a member in good standing of Trump's innermost circle. Not only was I regularly invited to these pageants, I was on the board of director of the Miss Universe organization, the corporation that ran both events. Wow, and it's so coveted and it's run by frickin' Trump. Trump owned 50% of the entity, with NBC Universal owning the other half. To reflect his equity position, the boss had 3 seats on the 7-person board. To match NBC's 3 seats with the 7th possessed by the president of the Miss Universe organization, or MUO as we call it, I knew I was for sure a highly valued and loyal Trump executive when he appointed me to the board in 2010, an honor usually reserved for himself or his kids. Congratulations, Michael, Trump said at the time. You are now a board member of MUO. I hope your wife wouldn't mind. Why do you say that? I asked. Does the board seat come with perks I'm unaware of? Michael, you have no idea how beautiful these women are, he replied. Just make sure you stay married. Don't worry, boss, I said. I'm sure my marriage will survive. Wait until you get backstage, as these beauties are getting dressed and made up, he said. They are the finest pieces of ass from every state and country. Every year, Trump and I would flick through the photo book containing the shots of the contestants from all over the world in bathing suits. Babe, they have the upper hand. Who should win right there? Every year, Trump and I would flick through the photo book containing the shots of contestants from all over the world in the bathing suits. We were like a pair of fifth graders slobbering over the images
Teenage boys.
as we flipped from page to page, weighing the merits of each entrant. So it was a small little thing that happened. Come on. We had so many other things that happened before that didn't become so big.
Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels was nothing. That's why he doesn't take it seriously. Wow, what a piece of ass, Trump would say. Shit, it looks like this one would kill you in bed. Man, she has gorgeous skin. Trump would go on in wonderment as he drooled over the photos. In 2012, the Miss Universe pageant was to be held in Las Vegas. So Trump and I set off with a
I'm surprised he didn't name
posse.
it after himself, because everything else he has is his name on it, like Miss Trump, Trump Towers, Trump Plaza. I'm sure he have a Miss Trump contest.
But it happened in the Trump place.
Nobody names everything after himself.
Trump would go on in wonderment as he drooled over the photos. In 2012, the Miss Universe pageant was to be held in Las Vegas. So Trump and I set off with a posse of executives and friends, including the omnipresent one-man security detail named Keith Schiller, a former NYPD cop who was always at Trump's side. Trump had a new Boeing 757 that year, and flying in his private jet contained a secret language known only to initiates. Where you sat on the plane demonstrated your importance and relationship to the boss.
First class, business class.
There were 3 areas. In the front, there was a cockpit, a private seating area for 4 people, and 2 bedrooms in the middle. There were executive seating and included sofas and 120-inch flat screen TV.
That's how they live, babe.
They have 2 bedrooms in an aeroplane.
Probably have like.
Can you imagine him going to jail? In the rear, there was a dozen first-class seats, relative Siberia on Trump's plane. I sat in the middle section, a symbol of my role as his private attorney and confidant, always ready at hand, always the eager courtier. Landing in Vegas, there were 6 black SUVs waiting on the tarmac, each assigned to take part at the entourage to Trump International Hotel, Las Vegas. Oh, there's a Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas.
Go there.
All of us with pre-assigned rooms. I didn't know that. And I've been to Vegas like
Yeah,
7 times. I never went to his hotel. All of which, all of us with pre-assigned rooms, room keys on hand, and our luggage quickly stowed in the back. A hyper-efficient system that allowed us to concentrate on why we had come to the city for fun. Hey boss, I called out, the hotel or the pageant? They're doing rehearsal for the next 2 hours. Pageant, Trump declared. Without hesitation, Michael, wait until you see the production they put into the event, depending on where they are in the rehearsal. Maybe we can catch a few of them in the back getting dressed. They are truly the best of the best. Silence was often the best response to Trump, I had learned, especially when it came to lewd remarks. There was really nothing to say. I knew unless you wanted to confront Trump with a politically correct remark, and that would only result in ridicule and disgust, and in all likelihood a steep decline in his regard. In this way, I could relate to Billy Bush in the Grab Them by the Pussies video, in which Trump boasted about how his celebrity status afforded him the privilege of being able to sexually assault women. It was offensive to say the least. But Melania said that they were just talking, two men talking in the locker room. That was all, that was it. But she gets all the perks too. To have a bedroom in the Trump Boeing 757. So why not? Um, do you remember the video? Being able to sexually assault the women. It was offensive to say the least, but I knew what. That's why a lot of women don't like him.
I don't think he should get any women, bro.
Yeah, or any woman in particular. He shouldn't have any women. But I knew what Bush was doing when he giggled nervously and went along with Trump. The sexist swagger was part of life inside Trump's bubble, a juvenile redoubt that was proudly, defiantly, and most definitely Neanderthal about women. Seated dead center in the auditorium, front row in the audience, as the contestants rehearsed their choreographed dance sequence, Trump was rapt as he leaned over and whispered to me, "Holy shit, look at Miss Brazil," Trump said. "She's fucking gorgeous. Look at that face and body, man. I would like a piece of that." "She's definitely gorgeous," I replied, scanning the stage filled with beauties and bathing suits. "Which one do you like?" Trump asked. "Miss Germany," I said. "She's the full, complete package. Beautiful, and man, can she dance. She's definitely professionally trained." "Shit, you're right," Trump said. "Good call. I wonder what your parents would say if you brought her home." This was Trump's idea of humor, because my father was a survivor of Holocaust and she was German. Get it? Because Michael Cohen's father was a survivor of the Holocaust and she was German. Get it? So he's having a humor. "Oh, you like the German girl? What would your dad say?" Shit, yeah. So, haha, silence from me again as Trump continued to invent.
There's a lot of German Jews too.
Trump continued to inventory the merchandise on display. Merchandise. That was women. As he watched the women. After an hour, he stood and announced that he was going to go on stage to greet the contestants. You can just imagine. Oh, and there's a picture of Miss Germany with Trump like really happy and like Michael Cohen like scooting next to her. To me, she's nothing special. She's just okay. It was amazing to see how these young, beautiful women from all over the globe blushed and giggled in the presence of Donald Trump. They were, because he owns it. Why would you start like Miss Pageant contest? Yeah, to get all the beautiful people together and own them? Wow. Can you imagine he has to spend one day in jail? That's why he doesn't think all this is happening to him. It's happening to someone else, not to him. It was amazing to see how these young, beautiful women from all over the globe blushed and giggled in the presence of Donald Trump. His power and charisma were undeniable. He took photos with the beauty queens as they clapped in excitement at getting a picture with reality TV star and prop writer of the pageant. Then Trump called out for me and the others in the entourage to join him on stage. Babe, I didn't like Donald Trump, but because he was so famous, I'm meeting a celebrity. So I met a celebrity. Doesn't matter like he's a good man or not. That's how those girls would be. Girls, these are my executive, Trump said. This is Michael, my killer lawyer. This is like being Dan. My killer dish. But sorry, girls, he's happily married. So he's out of bounds. The women laughed, and so did I. Back at the hotel, in the restaurant named DJT, in honor of his initials. Yeah. Trump was ebullient about the pageant that night. After the show, we have an after party, Trump said to me. It's crazy. I want you to bring the girls by to see me, especially Miss Germany and Miss Brazil. Of course, boss, I said. That's easy. They love you. With Trump, flattery gets you everywhere. Did you see their faces when I took the pictures? He asked. One of them was rubbing my back and squeezing into me. You know, I can have any of them if I want. In fact, I could have all of them. I'm sure, I replied. I'm sure you can, boss. Miss USA Olivia Culpo won that year. Not his favorite from Brazil and Germany. But that didn't impact Trump's mood at the after party. Oh, so they were actually true. He was not the judge.
Trump wasn't?
Yeah, so he didn't win. Miss USA won and neither did Miss Brazil and neither did Miss Germany. So at least they're not rigged. The judges choose them, I guess. The arrangements for the event at a club in the hotel followed the usual pattern. The place was throbbing with music and sex. As scores of beautiful young women danced and drank champagne and oversexed middle-aged men tried to catch their eye. This was a cordoned off VIP section where I sat, and inside that there was another, even more private area, also marked by a red velvet rope, guarded by Trump's bodyguard Keith Schiller, and reserved for the boss alone as instructed. I have heard that only few people are invited, so you get like famous and then get really famous, but they're still not allowed to these after parties and like the private places. You know that guy Adam, not Adam Levine, the other guy Adam, the gay guy.
Who's the guy sings for Queen?
What's his name? Adam?
I know what you mean, but what about him?
He made a whole song about it, but he wasn't allowed. So he's a pretty big singer. Right? He's so big.
But he's dead, right?
And he's not allowed everywhere, so he made a whole song about it and really angry because you get famous and still very famous, but you're not allowed everywhere. I'm sure everybody was not involved in the inner circle. Like, so we're not reading just a book on Donald Trump. We're reading like how the rich people operate. Because they have an inner circle, and inner circle. Where everybody knows so even he's not part of the inner circle. He's in the middle of the plane. As instructed, I delivered Miss Brazil and Germany's Alicia Endman to Trump's lair, where I was thanked and dismissed. See, he was dismissed. That was how things worked with Trump. I knew. That's why in that comedy thing, he says, I can handle it from here when Stormy Daniels come. Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
He says, when Stormy Daniels comes on the phone, he says, I can handle it now. Bye, Michael. I can handle it from here. Okay, where I was thanked and dismissed. This was how things worked with him. Huh? I knew that there was a real likelihood that he would at least try to hook up with one of the beauty contestants. and I knew there was a decent chance he would succeed. But as with his shady business dealings and dirty deeds, he had a pre- preternatural way of hiding the truth of his activities. Preternatural. Plausible deniability wasn't just a strategy for Trump, it was his way of life. I should stop here to comment on the common perception of Trump as a sleazy womanizer, constantly having sex with strangers as some kind of sex addict. That wasn't how the boss operated, no matter the popular view he encouraged. As you will see in the pages to come, Trump did have affairs with people, like a porn star and a former Playboy centerfold, and I was assigned the task of hiding those trysts from his wife and the public. That's what I think. He wanted to be loyal to Melania.
But he couldn't.
So he was loyal and wanted to enjoy life. Like, that's how most people are. That's how most guys are, babe. They want to have a wife and they want to keep having indiscreet affairs. So he wanted Michael Cohen to have a decent like marriage as well. It gives stability. That's what I was saying. Marriage gives you stability. Whether you want the person, whether you like the person, but marriage gives you stability. That's what people keep keeping making promises that they can't keep. He wasn't a Lothario, and many women weren't attracted to him at all. In fact, in my experience, the most attractive and intelligent women were often both repulsed and in strange way pulled towards his money and power and prestige. When he told Billy Bush that he would grab women by their genitals, I have no doubt he literally meant what he said. That was always true of Trump. But I never saw him such do such an awful thing. I did see him corner pretty women in his office and forcibly kiss them as they recoiled. He would grab the women by their cheeks and pull them towards him and kiss them plump on their lips. In 2013, the Miss Universe pageant was to be held in Moscow. See, he's being truthful about what he saw and what he didn't see. He didn't see all that. He was just had a reputation. He says he could, but he didn't see it.
Michael didn't see it?
Yeah, Michael didn't see it. He just saw him kissing on the women's lips and come cozy. So he may be doing it, but he doesn't know for sure. In 2013, the Miss Universe pageant was to be held in Moscow. It was announced in Vegas and thus began the sequence of events that would unravel in front of the nation over the years to come. I was there at the very beginning. I was at the heart of the unfolding events all along. So I know the central role played by Eris and Emin Agalarov, a Russian father and son team. The Agalarovs were classic Russian billionaires connected to Putin and self-evidently able to set things done in the former Soviet Union, qualities that mattered greatly to Trump. For decades, Trump had been chasing his personal greed White Whale, a Trump hotel in the center of Moscow, with no success, until an initiative was begun in the months leading up to the 2016 election, a potential deal that I was in charge of, and that would cause a nation-shattering controversy. But that was still years away. In June 2013, Trump and I traveled to Las Vegas together once more to meet again with the Agalarovs in that year's Miss USA pageant and the release party of the pop star Emin's new single. The two events, Emin's pop star Emin, Emin. Look,
E-M-I-N?
yeah,
M-N-M or no? Just M-N.
Pop star EMIN, Emmons. New single. The two events, I think it was Russian. The two events tied together for the promotion, with Trump appearing as himself in the video for the song. Oh, he's in the video of the song. Check. What is he doing? With Trump appearing as himself in the video for the song. See, he has connections with Russia all along. Because the Aglarovs.
Ivanka Trump.
She's not Russian.
She was Russian.
Or maybe pre-Russian. She's not exactly Russian.
She was from Russia. His first wife that died.
Oh. Then he's obsessed with Russia. The Aglarovs were part of the promotion for the 2013.
Donald Jr. and Eric's wife.
Oh, she died? For the 2013 Moscow Miss Universe pageant. Yes, the P-tape party, as you'll see. P-tape? P-tape party.
Huh?
P. P-E-E. I don't know what that means.
Tape?
P-tape party, as you'll see. Checking into the Vegas Trump Tower, I was summoned up to his...
It was a golden shower, right?
Who knows?
Susu tape.
Donald Trump is standing in the front. Trump at the Miss USA pageant with Business Associates 2020. See, he has pictures of all the pageants. Oh my God. They are so beautiful and so young. I can just see what he meant. Okay. I was summoned up to his suite to discuss the day's events. Trump in his underwear, white Hanes briefs wave. Yeah, that's what Stormy said too. And a white short sleeve undershirt, watching cable news on television. He barely seemed to register that it was unusual for a grown man to be in a state of undress in front of an employee. But there it was. On this occasion, Trump was fresh from the shower and he hadn't done his hair yet. As it was still hair drying. When his hair wasn't. He had to mention it. This is comical. When his hair wasn't done, his strands of dyed golden hair reached down below his shoulders.
Or because it wasn't styled or pushed back or anything.
When his hair wasn't done, his strands of dyed golden hair reached below his shoulders,
Probably right.
along the right side of his head and on his back, like a balding, all-man brother of strung out old 60s hippie.
Because it's all slicked back and shit, like with product in it.
They were long and I has to bring it up from the back. Man, he's mastered it. He's got a Donald Trump hairstyle going. His old 60s hippie. I called his plane Hair Force One.
What?
Hair Force.
Air Force One.
Hair Force One for good reason. Trump doesn't have a simple comb over as it would appear. This operation was much more involved than a simple throw over of what was left of his hair. A 3-step procedure required a flop up of the hair from the back of his head, followed by a flip of the resulting overhang of his face back on his
That's a 50s
on
thing,
his
babe.
pate.
All
And
those doo-wop guys that grease their hair, all their hair's like down to here. When they flip it up here, it comes up to like there.
wait, I have to hear this 3-step process. The operation was much more involved than a simple throw over of what was left of his hair. The 3-step procedure required a flop up of the hair from the back of his head, followed by the flip of the resulting overhang on his face,
Probably bald on top, and they take the
back on his face.
They take the back of it and they flip it up to the top.
Yeah, he didn't get a surgery done. Okay. By the flip of the resulting overhang on his face, back on his pate, and then the flap of his comb over on the right side, providing 3 layers of thinly disguised balding male insecurity. The concoction was held in place by a fog of tresemme,
That's Joe.
Tress to not a high-end salon product, flip flop flap, and there was the most famous comb over, and there was this the most famous comb over in the world. The real reason for the extravagant and obvious overcompensation of his baldness was vanity and his desire to appear younger. Man, that is something. He doesn't like being bald, but he didn't like to get surgery either. You know, like Elon Musk got a surgery. His before and after pictures. Babe, thanks for the tea. And more vigorous than he was. But there was another unknown reason he was hiding unsightly scars on his scalp from a failed hair transplant.
That's what it is.
Oh shit, so he did try the hair implant operation in the 90s. That was the disfiguring operation that resulted in his furious emotional rape of his first wife Ivana, as she documented in a lawsuit in the early 90s. Like Samson, Trump believed his virility and image were harmed if he was seen to be losing his hair, or even worse, injuring himself in an attempt to disguise male pattern balding. If Trump if Trump let strangers see the red sores on his scalp, he would appear to be vulnerable, even pitiable, not the unstoppable sex god alpha male billionaire he wanted to present the world and himself. Babe, what do you think so far?